Sure, that's a good plan. Who else do we have with us?
I'm from Ottawa. I'm Natalie.
Hey,
Ottawa,
Natalie.
Ontario.
Capital City.
I'm Mike from
Mike, where you at?
Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh, awesome. My wife's from the Sioux.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're kind of sad because they're used to spending the early part of summer up in Haviland Bay. They've got a whole bunch of cottages there that the family has, and they just skip from one camp to the other, but that's a no-go right now, unfortunately. So it's good to meet you, Mike. Mike, I don't know if you're available after this meeting. Let everyone else know you're the lone specialist candidate we have in the course. So I've got some special things to talk to you about. If you could hang on for a couple minutes, maybe after we end this meeting.
Certainly, that's fine.
Anybody else want to say hey and where they're from?
Morning.
Hi, I'm Bill
from Shenzhen, China. Hope everyone's doing well.
Shenzhen, China. My goodness. Well, what time is it there? It's morning.
7:30 in the morning. 7:26.
Wow. Well, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining in. Anybody else?
I'm Bill, and I'm from just outside Windsor.
Windsor is where I grew up. Now I'm getting a little bit of feedback on Jessica's microphone, so I'm just going to mute her for a second. Yeah, I grew up in Windsor, Ontario until I was about 24, and then I moved to London and started teaching and moved to Kamoka.
Nice.
And Jessica says hi in the chat. Anybody who's interested, there's a little button that says chat. You can raise questions there or put your hand up. And if you want to type where you're from rather than turning your microphone on, you're welcome to do that. We're about 3 minutes from our official start time. Is there anybody else who wants to say hi and where they're from?
Yeah, I'm Drew. I'm from just outside of Toronto. I live in a small town right now. I just moved a little while ago. Excited to take this course. Sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to learning all about different tools and technology. So yeah, should be fun.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the microphone. Anybody else? See, Rose Andrea says hello. She's from Stony Creek. Now, Stony Creek, I had a friend there. That's sort of just past Hamilton on the way to Niagara Falls is what I think of Stony Creek, if that's the place I'm thinking of.
I played hockey in Stony Creek.
See, there's all these connections. I saw these connections start to happen just in the introductions. Everyone's sort of, there's these little things that connect us all. It's really cool. There's Drew. He's got his microphone going. Good stuff. So I'll let everyone know, I'm going to record this meeting just so that people who can't attend it won't feel like they miss out on anything, and they can sort of watch it on a video stream. They can actually scrub through it as they want. I see Daphne's from Kitchener-Waterloo. Scared and excited is Susan. Yeah, that's a good attitude. I'd say that's an honest view for a lot of people. But if you got through the last few months, especially starting in March, and you were teaching, this is nothing compared to that, what everyone has gone through for that. Kendra's in London. Oh, good. We have a few London people. I think I noticed a number of people from Western University in the introduction. And we're just before 7:30, so I'll give one more chance. If anybody wants to take the microphone and use their voice to introduce themselves, you're welcome to do that. Okay, I'm going to take over the screen for just a minute and use a little bit of visuals to try and explain why I gathered you all together. It's sort of like, you ever watch those horror movies where they get people to a haunted something? I've gathered you all together for something special. Well, this is not intended to be scary. I really just want to give you an overview of how the course is designed and what I'm expecting and looking for, and how you can have the richest possible experience. So again, the course is the integration of information and communications technologies in instruction. So we're taking tools, devices, strategies, and trying to see what that looks like if we use it in instruction. And I mentioned before everyone got here that the best time to take this course, if it's not right now, it would have been last year or the year before that. So you'd have a chance to practice some of the things. But I'm sure you've learned a lot of tricks over the last few months. And this course is going to do a lot about hopefully making you comfortable about learning what you'd like to learn about. But let me give you a little bit of an overview of what I'm looking for and what the course is all about. First of all, I think that this COVID situation, as painful as it has been for people around the world, in many ways, it has nudged education to change and adopt technology more than 20 or 30 or 40 years of people saying, hey, there's some really cool stuff you can do. Out of necessity, things changed. And my hope is that in taking this course, it's more going to be a matter of, hey, I'd like to try that because I practiced it and learned how to do it. And it's really cool and you can learn a lot. And I think you'll enjoy it. And we have the wherewithal to do it. And so I'm hoping that the decision to change things will come from not some forced upon us distance learning situation, but something where we say, hey, I got this. That's what the goal of the course is. And I will let you know the most important part is evidenced by the turnout tonight. This is just terrific. We've got 20 participants here, counting myself. This is outstanding. And if you tune into the discussions and pay attention to one another, you will have a super rich experience. In fact, the course was written a few years ago. It's been adapted and tweaked a little bit to bring it, make sure it stays up to date. But the most important things that end up being shared in the course almost always tend to come from students, teachers, practicing teachers that bring experiences that they've had, or they find things on the internet, they discover things and they share it with everyone. That has year in, year out been the richest aspect of the course. So paying attention to the course content, going through and doing what you should and answering the questions that you should and doing the tasks, that's great. But if you want a super rich experience, pay attention to what people are sharing in the discussion and throughout. I will let you know that I have to grade people's participation. So one of the things that I pay attention to is who shows up and reads stuff. This is a blanked out template that demonstrates some of the things that people do to participate. So this column, posts, those are the number of times people have made contributions to things. And those people that are very conversational tend to make a lot of posts that have some chunk to them. They're referring to other people's comments and trying to enrich it and ask questions and provide hyperlinks. But they're not long essays. We don't want to get in the habit of writing long essays because people don't want to read long essays. They want to read in chunks. So the number of posts, a lot of posts is probably expected. And one of the ways I track your participation is to look for posts that occur at least every other day. If you have a gap in your posts that's more than a day in between, and it's 2 days with nothing or 3 days with nothing, you missed some opportunity for learning. We have 3 modules. Each module only runs for 9 days. So being in there every other day, you're in at least 4 or 5 times. But my hope is that you'll find enough rich content to keep coming back. And I want you to come back because there's some value there for you. The second column of numbers is things that are read. As you work through the course, one of the ways I track your participation is to see what you've been reading, and the next column, what you haven't been reading. So if you don't read things and mark them as read in the system, it shows that you're not sort of taking the time to go through that content. One of the things that happens when you click I read this is it puts a timestamp on it. It says when and when in time of day and what date you actually read content. So if you're reading everything and just saying select it all and mark it all read, it doesn't show that you're engaging with it. I recognize it takes time to read stuff. It takes time to write stuff. It takes time to read stuff. And part of my reality is understanding you engaging with one another. If I'm saying that's an important part of the course, I want to value that. So if you do take the time to read the content, that's one of the ways that you can get a good grade. I will let you know though, I have posted in the Q&A discussions, it's an open forum for all 3 courses. So we've got the part 1 course, the part 2 course, and the specialist course. And I posted this as a guide to make your content as rich as possible. So first thing is make it short. If it's over 250 words, and you can get in the habit, one of the things some students like to do is write in a word processor and then copy and paste the text in as a contribution. Two things happen from that. One, you know how many words you're writing. You get a habit of writing short paragraphs, 2 or 3 short paragraphs. Post that. If it's more than 250 words, separate it out and post it as a separate post. Post the first little bit and then post a little bit. The contrast to that is people that just post things like, hey, I love what that person said, and they don't contribute anything. They don't stretch it. They don't enrich it. Hey, I love that. That's really too short. So try to, in your contributions, make them as rich as possible. We're inviting you to be authentic, to tell stories from your own past. As the course goes on, you'll be familiar with more and more of the students in the course, and you'll be willing to share more personal experiences you've had with the classroom, whether it's as a student in the classroom or as a teacher in the classroom. And those real stories are really something that makes it rich. I would encourage you to include hyperlinks. One of the things that online courses like to do is have people reference where they got their information from. And if you choose a content from an article or a reading or a website, one of the ways that you can reference that is by putting a hyperlink in it. You'll notice when I wrote this course, I said, I'll create this, but I don't want anyone to have to buy a textbook. There's no reason to do that. Everything's available online. So if you're able to point to where you got information by including a hyperlink, that helps everyone else know about a resource that you found. It helps me enrich the course by possibly including that in a future direction of the course. But it also says, hey, this person got the idea from somewhere else. And we want to include references to where we get stuff. One of the things you can do is mention people by name. Instead of saying, I agree with so-and-so, you can say just, I agree, include the person's name. And have you thought about this? Have you considered that? It reminds me of an experience I had when this happened. But try to push the conversation forward by including questions and prompts and nudging people by name. It's a good way to personalize things and make people know the course is just not an individual course, in the exception of one person in the class. So mention people by name and show up as best as possible every other day, but every day if you can. Engaging in social conversations is kind of the glue that holds people together. So we have a discussion. We have some discussions that are open forums. One of them is called, I think it's called a break room. It's a place where you can go in and just put fun stuff, share the news of the day, share your frustrations, go for a coffee break and just have social time. Find a nice little YouTube video that you'd like to share with everybody that's really cute. You can post it there. But those social things help people connect more closely. And again, I've already mentioned that the course goes beyond the syllabus. We've got some good stuff to explore, but the really rich stuff is going to come from you. Ask questions, embed media. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. And remember that it's not all the course. We're here till the end of July, but I recognize you have to have time to do other stuff. You've got family, you've got commitments, you've got other things to do. So you can't spend all of your time in. My fix is golfing. I like to golf 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday in the morning. So I'm not available generally to respond to stuff from probably 8 o'clock in the morning till about 12:30, 12 o'clock. But after that, you'll catch me just about any time. But take time for yourself throughout the summer to do some real stuff. I do want to show you that embed trick, because one of the things that is overwhelming to people is seeing a whole bunch of text on a page. And there are a couple of ways that we can enliven posts and make your contributions a little bit more interesting. So let me see if I can show you this for those of you that aren't familiar. I'm going to first open up my browser. Let me see. I use a browser called Opera, and it's I just find it really super friendly. So I'm going to go to this. Recognize this is our course. I'm going to go to the forums, and I'm going to go to the break room. And in the break room, I'm going to start a new conversation. Let me me see if I can find this. I had a video that I selected earlier, and I'm hoping it's still going to come up in my search here. Life in the 1950s, the good old days. So online, there are all kinds of cute little videos, cute little snippets and things that you can put into the course that you can contribute. You can do that by hyperlink, by just grabbing the URL, which is the address at the top of the page. You can copy that and paste it in. But even more engaging is if you take that content and put it right in the course. If you find a cool graphic or a cool video, a lot of times you're going to see a button called share. And in YouTube, here's the share button down here. If I click that share button, I get a couple of options. The cool way, the advanced move, people in the specialist course and the part 2 course, I'm sure you guys can pull this off, but part 1, you might want to play around with this. And this will be recorded so you can go visit if you need to. But this code here, this button called embed, there's the hyperlink you could just share. But if you use this embed button, it gives you a bunch of code. And if I copy that code, you just click on it and copy it. You can specify the moment you want the code to start. So if you don't want to start at the very beginning and show the whole thing and you just want to show a minute of it later on, you can specify a start time. But when you copy that code and go to put a message in here, you can paste the code in this box, but there's a magic trick. You have to make sure we're in code view. Right now, it just wants me to type. But if I click this button at the very top that says source, this is where we're looking at HTML code, which is how the internet runs. It's on all kinds of special keywords and phrases. But if I paste in there the code to that YouTube video, I grab the embed code, put it as source, and then turn this off. Now I've got a video in there. It doesn't look like a video. It just looks like a frame holding a place. But when I post it, when people come to this message now and click on Life in the 1950s, instead of following a hyperlink, they're going to have the content right in the course. This is true for all kinds of media that you'll find out there. The word share and the word embed, and then source code as a button that you can use. It's one of the ways that we can enrich the course. So I'm not going to go over that again. If you're interested in doing it, scrub through the video when I share the video with folks and you can revisit it. Some of you maybe took notes on that as it is. But one of the things we want to try and do is make the course interesting for people, and text itself is kind of boring. Social media, one of the reasons it's super popular is because it's media. It's not just text. So I encourage you to try that. Does anybody have any questions before we move on about posting and discussions and the important role that you play in that?
Where do you post, Rod?
Where do you post? That's an excellent question. So the module discussions for module 1 open tomorrow.
Oh,
this first day, like if I'd have posted that first thing with the questions, what happens is people go through and they answer all the questions and they go, okay, it's done. And then people go and see it and they say, oh, someone's already answered the question. What do I do now? I want to encourage you to see, you'll see the prompts will show up for module 1 tomorrow morning, actually tonight at 1 a.m. I think they're set to open, but they'll only run for 9 days and then they'll close, and then a new set will open for module 2. And then the same will happen for module 3. What I want to encourage you to do is not rush to answer all of those questions in 1 or 2 days. Mull them over, let other people contribute, and then see if you can't expand the conversation. The prompts are a starting point. If you've got a more interesting place to go on that topic, I want to encourage you to explore that. So don't be shy about having to just answer the questions that are there. Move beyond that, but you will see them starting tomorrow. Other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
I jumped in a little late, so I'm not sure if this has already been answered. But if for our discussion post, will you be grading us on like our original post, or if we like contribute to the conversation and the discussion without posting like our original thoughts on the prompts, will that still count? Do you know what I mean?
Both, yeah. So here's a key way this course is different than a lot of courses you might have taken online. there are a lot of activities that you're challenged to do throughout the course. So in some sections of the course, instead of saying, read this article and write a review of it, it says, this is a concept. Here's a hyperlink to learn more. Go find this or go try that or go do that. And then come back to the discussion and share your experience. Maybe share an example of your work. There's some media at some point that people will do. But it's like, go and try something and then come back and tell us. Go and find out what your board's policy is about such and such, and then share that back and discuss it. The prompts are a starting point. You don't have to answer every starting point, but you're going to want to answer many of them. And again, if you're engaging in conversation around things that are interesting related to information and communications technology, you're going to score really well. But the prompts themselves, I'm not counting how many first prompts you did, but if there is something in there that says, go and do this, or go and get this document, or find this information and share it, that's the kind of thing that I am looking for.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
You said it's like a mixed group. When I went to the syllabus, I'm in part 1, but my syllabus said part 2. I don't know if anyone's having that issue, or does it matter?
It does matter. So you had the wrong syllabus, Erin?
I think so, and I think also Kendra did too.
Let me just...
So Rod,
yes.
I checked my syllabus and I'm in part 2, but I got the part 1. So maybe.
Okay. Okay, so
I
here's
got all 3, I think. Like it came up all together.
Merry Christmas. Oh, it's a holiday special.
Yeah, Rod, I have the wrong one too. I got part 1 and I'm in part 2.
This is excellent.
Same here,
You know why this is excellent? Because I have no responsibility for that. The
I just want to make sure I'm doing the right work.
so here's what happened, and I'll fix that tonight for you. The syllabuses went in last week for a referral, and then they chose to take a long break on the weekend. And yesterday, I got an email late at night telling me, Rod, good luck. I got the syllabuses all in, and I assigned them to all the people they're supposed to see them. And I said, oh, that's terrific. Everything's done. But now I know I'm going to go and make sure that part 1s see the part 1 and part 2 see the part 2. I'll change the permissions right
Mine's
after we're done this call.
Mine's labeled part 1, but when I click it, it says part 2. I don't know if that's like, so like the title.
So the documents are not linked correctly.
Correct. That is the problem.
So you click part 1 and it gives you part 2 is what downloads.
Correct.
Okay, I can fix that. No worries.
Yeah, I think mine's the same as Erin's. I'm pretty sure. I thought it was just me, but yeah, I think it says part 1, but then you get something else.
Okay, so
I was known in university to ask the questions that everyone has because I'm not shy.
That's good.
So just so they were always like, "Oh, we can go early unless anyone has a question." I was like, and they're like, "Erin, no!"
This has gotten us on the right spot because the courses are a little bit different than one another, part 1, part 2, and specialist. So as soon as this call's over, I'll go and muck about and make sure you get the right one. So please download it before you start the discussions, because the discussions you see will be different than what you see if you keep the syllabus that you currently have. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. If it's okay with everyone, let's move on to the collaborative inquiry. This is the major task in the course. This is the big project work that actually gets handed in and graded and returned. So the collaborative inquiry has 3 main parts to it. There's a group project that you work together in a team to do something. There's an independent task that each person does by themselves with the support of that group. And then there's a reflection that follows at the very end of the course where each individual reflects on what they've learned, what they did, how that went, and how it connects to professional expectations of what a professional learner is all about. So in part 1, your group project is to create a resource that supports teachers. You're going to create something that supports teachers. It might turn out to be a website, might be a really cool PowerPoint presentation, it might be a Prezi that's interactive. If you want to see some samples of work, there's a sample projects wiki where you can see some of the best projects that were submitted over the past few years. Click in there and you'll see some of the topics that you might pursue, but you also see some of the types of work you might produce. The part 2 students are going to design a set of posters, again, to support teachers. And those posters, you're going to have to get together and decide what topic that those posters are all about. There are 5 people taking the part 2 course. So they'll either do it as one large group of 5, or they'll break into 2 groups with 2 different subsets of topics that they create a set of posters about. And then Mike is going to do a redesigned school for us. That's his task in the specialist course. And then beyond that group project, which you've already seen some of the discussion around what are the topics that we could do our project on, and that's started. That's really good. The second part of that, a little bit later in the course, each individual in the course is going to create something for themselves that they can use in school. But they're going to create it with the support of that same team they did the group project with. So you're going to support one another, and I'll talk to you about how that's going to happen later on in the course as we get rolling. But in part 1, you're doing a cross-curricular lesson or a unit plan. And in part 2, you're doing a multimedia task, creating a task for students that has them create something out of multimedia. And our specialist candidate, Mike, I'll let you know in front of everybody, you're going to be doing a workshop for us. And I'll tell you more, and I'll give you some support on how that's going to work. But in the specialist course, you're called to demonstrate leadership. So one of the ways we do that is give you an opportunity to work with teachers and teach them something. And we'll do that in Zoom later in the course, and everyone will be invited to participate in that. And then the last bit of the collaborative inquiry is a reflection. It's actually part 3, reflection about you and what's next for you. And you have wide open choice of format. I have suggested to you that there don't have to be any essays in this course. In this case, if you want to write an essay, I will read your essay. If you want to do anything else, I'm even happier to take that, whether it's multimedia, a narrated slideshow, a video that you produce, an audio podcast, anything that's different. It is a tech course after all. So if you want to do something different, I welcome that. So that's kind of what the collaborative inquiry is all about. These are some of the attributions to the images that I used in my slides, just to give them a heads up. But is there anybody have any questions about the collaborative inquiry project? Natalie, I see a hand. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, are you picking the groups? Like, how do we know? Because we're all jumbled up. How do we know who's in part 1, 2, and 3? Well, we know 3, but.
Well, in part 1, you are, I can put a list out. I have given you access to all of those discussions, but I can assign them to just part 1 and part 2 and specialists. So you won't see the other topics being discussed. But what's happening in the discussion right now is people are proposing topics for that project. So again, you're working on something that will support teachers. You're going to craft something that will help teachers out. And what will you help teachers out with? That's what you have to decide. And so right now we're posting ideas. If you see an idea you like, someone says, the new math curriculum, I want to do something on that new math curriculum to help teachers out. And if 2 or 3 other people join in that and we get to a group that reaches 4 people, that becomes a group. And I will create a separate workspace for the math collaborative inquiry, and you will work together in that discussion room. There will be some other people that will say in the part 2, maybe they want to do posters on using multimedia, or they want to do posters on that new math curriculum. And what I can do is create 2 separate groups and split them up so that each group will only then interact with their group mates. But right now, it's a free-for-all. People are posting ideas about topics that they'd like to learn more about and share and help other teachers learn about.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question. Anything else about this mystery of collaborative inquiry?
You said there were some examples, Rod. Where are they?
In the course, let me just show you. So on the left-hand part of the menu, you'll see something called Sample Collaborative Inquiry Projects, or Sample CI Projects. If you click on that, these are some projects that past students have done, and they've given me permission to share them with you. So there's a whole bunch from part 1. And then there are part 2 exemplars there. And then specialist exemplars are following that. And then if you'd like some examples of what reflections might look like at the end of the course, there's a whole bunch of those too. So again, that's just in the left-hand menu. You'll see it under Sample collaborative inquiry projects. So what do you think? Scare you yet? Maybe it was a haunted house? You're okay? Good. I appreciate the thumbs up. There's a button on your screen called reactions at the bottom of the screen. If you're on a regular computer, you can either clap your hands or give a thumbs up if you feel good about things, or you can just leave it totally quiet if you're like, I'm not too sure about what's going on here. So we're nearly at the top of the hour. I'm so happy to meet so many of you so early in the course. This is really terrific turnout. And I want you to know, if you have any questions, the best place to post them, if they come up after you leave the call, I wish I would have asked them in the Q&A discussion, and then the response can be seen by everybody. If you have a personal issue that you don't want public for some reason you need to bring to my attention, then you can use the messages tab and interact with me directly via sort of email. But that's what the messages tab is. But for the most part, we'll try and keep it in discussion so everyone sees what's going on. But I thank you for taking a half an hour out of your time. I'll stick around for questions if anybody has any. But if you don't and you're feeling good about things, then you'll see the discussions will start tomorrow, and you'll have access to the new syllabus later tonight. All good? Okay, I'm going to ask Mike to stick around then. If everybody else wants to sign off, there's a little close meeting or leave meeting button. I think it's in the bottom right. But I look forward to seeing you in the course. Thanks again for coming out, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
How often will you have these meetings, Rod?